Hope everybody had a great weekend. Welcome into TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. They want to remind you to visit T-Mobile.com/across America to learn more about how you can get value and coverage through T-Mobile. All right, so we talked a lot of Aggie basketball as we had to. What a comeback victory over Missouri, a game where they didn't score the first 9 minutes. So during the go hour, we did discuss that. It was fun to do. We also had Tom Hart on the show. We talked a little bit about everything. He brought up the Cowboys, brought up the Aggies and their chances of making the tournament and what they need to do to get some signature wins to get that national attention. We also did around Aggieland with Richard Zane. Appreciate his time. And Coach Buzz talking about that 4-0 start and the heart that this team plays with every game. It is TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. Basketball sharpshooter. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning. Oh, basketball sharpshooter, that's definitely not the case. But the Aggies shot well when they had to, I guess. I did not get to see the game. I was keeping up with it on TexAgs.
Yep.
And it was riveting, that comeback.
Is one of those games where I would say for 70%, I'm like, all right, when is the comeback coming? When are they going to cut? Because they were just missing shots, and it was just like there was a rim above. I would shoot. There was like a glass above the rim, and they couldn't, it would go in and not in. And I was like, all right, they're only down 10-0. They'll be fine. And then they got it to 5, and then Missouri extended it. Mm-hmm. Then they got it to 5 again, and Missouri extended it. And now there was, 6-7 minutes left. I'm like, maybe it's just not their day. Yeah. Moment I thought that.
They went on a 7-0 run.
They were just, and they believed. They always believe, but they believed.
Well, I thought, and we talked about this, that, and it doesn't make me smart. I mean, it's just the way that sports teams usually are, that they would face a good Missouri team, because the Missouri team they faced was not the one that just got completely embarrassed by Arkansas.
Right.
So you saw, go in there for a reasonably early game on the road against a team that's embarrassed and wanting to make up for it. And Missouri played hard, like you said, from all accounts that I'm reading, and then some of the highlights that I watched. So Missouri go in there, and they had something to not necessarily prove, but they needed some redemption. And maybe that caught A&M flat-footed, but I was hearing people say, A&M can't buy a bucket, like you said. Mm-hmm. And so they must have had a several rim out and things like that. But and I don't know that this means that they're going to be Kentucky. If I had to bet on the game, I'd probably take Kentucky. But that was that just shows the kind of scrappy nature of that team that beats teams that they're not supposed to.
Yep.
They don't quit. They play hard all the time. And, maybe when they play Kentucky, those shots that were rimming out, maybe they're going to go in. Maybe some of them that you look like they're going to miss, maybe you're just going to get the roll and bounce. But that's a team that can give Kentucky trouble, because they're just going to play hard all the time.
There's something about knowing how to win. And I don't care who you're playing. Missouri, not a good team. Fine. You go on the road and you don't score for an entire quarter of the game, right? Mm-hmm. And you win. Like that just shows you know how to win. It's not like Missouri was playing with 4 men out there. They were playing 5 guys coming after being battered the game prior against Arkansas. They came to bring it. And when you watch the beginning of that game, they were great defensively. They were really creating some havoc for A&M to move the ball. They were trapping. They were attacking. And then the Ags just found ways to win. Now, can they go an entire quarter and not score against Kentucky, LSU, Auburn? No. But every game's got its own script. Who's not to say that Kentucky can't buy a bucket for a quarter?
All right. The Aggies are a tough-minded, determined, just never quit team. And you don't, athleticism aside and all those things, you don't ever just assume you're going to beat a tough-minded team that will never quit.
Mm-hmm. A couple things make Kentucky a really tough team to defend. They've been without Xavier Wheeler, their point guard. He was in and out of the lineup. He got hurt in the LSU game. This guy led the nation in assists at Georgia. Transfer portal, ends up at Kentucky. They really didn't have a point guard last year. He gave them the one thing that they needed, and that was as a distributor to get the ball into guys' hands who can score. Oscar Tshiebwe is is a man. I mean, he is amazing. So, okay, so that's cool. There's Wheeler's stats. Henry Coleman versus Oscar Tshiebwe is probably going to decide this game. Vanderbilt tried to single up Tshiebwe, and he absolutely tore them apart. They're very similar to A&M in that they don't have great size on the front line, and they don't have a whole lot of depth there. And Tshiebwe got it on the block and was able to do whatever he wanted to do. If they miss shots, he gets the rebound. He leads the nation in every rebounding category, raw numbers, percentage, offense, percentage, defense, this and that. Ty Washington had 17 assists in the game when Severe Wheeler was out last week. They've got dudes who can shoot the ball. This is a very well-rounded Kentucky team that can attack you from a number of different spots. A&M has the wins. They've been shooting the ball well over the course of the season. Those numbers kind of have come back to earth during conference play. But they're a good defensive team that rebounds the ball, and they're going to have to do that. And there's no doubt the Buzz will have some creative defensive ideas dialed up to slow down whoever he wants to slow down. Like that's who you have to choose against Kentucky, right? Realistic coaches say, okay, we want to take this away, and it might. I don't want to give anything up, but it might come at the expense of that. So that's, to me, is the biggest discussion to have is where are we most vulnerable and what do we need to stop for Kentucky?
So let's say you put all your eggs in the Tshiebwe basket, but he still is a beast and still finds a way to score. Like, do you take out other guys, or do you try just because you don't have the size really to compete with him?
Yeah, the thing about Tshiebwe is, and he's probably the best. I mean, this is good competition, but probably the number one transfer in college basketball this year because he's a National Player of the Year candidate who was just an average player in a season and a half at West Virginia under Bob Huggins. You can't totally take him away because he will get touches off of the glass. Like he is. Think Dennis Rodman. Think Ben Wallace. I mean, this guy just has a nose for the basketball. So if you take Tshiebwe away and you try to double on him, he's a good enough passer that they've got Keon Brooks on the outside, who's a great shooter and a great scorer, was a 2,000-point scorer, Davidson. Kellen Grady, that's a guy that can shoot the ball as well, 65% from the floor if you factor in the threes. Sorry, I got those flipped. Grady is a kid, Davidson. Brooks has been there for a little bit. So Kentucky has guys on the perimeter that can hurt you.
All right, so around Aggieland, obviously the biggest story is this men's basketball team. They won their 8th game in a row on Saturday. They're now 4-0 in SEC play, defeated Missouri 67-64 on the road. They trailed the entire game, did not lead at any point until Tyrese Radford's layup with 4:47 remaining, and it was a beautiful move to get free, a spin at the top of the outside the arc to get inside. They only led for 2 minutes and 55 seconds the entire game. Doesn't matter. They still won it. Andre Gordon, Hassan Diarra nailing down clutch free throws down the stretch. Henry Coleman, a game-high 18 points. Tyrese Radford had 13. Marcus Williams had 10. A&M is one of 7 high major teams to be undefeated on the road at this point in the year. They are also one of just 4 high major teams to be undefeated in conference play, joining Arizona, Auburn, and Illinois.
Pretty good
That's
company.
pretty impressive, and of course, they've got their biggest test of the year coming up on Wednesday night. Kentucky will be here, a 7:30 p.m. tip-off. The game will be televised on the SEC Network. If you're coming to Aggieland, the doors will open at 6:30, I believe, and everybody inside the venue will be getting a free Rock Reed t-shirt. I'm going to assume it'll be a whiteout at Reed Arena. I can't wait to see that scene on Wednesday night.
For those who don't remember, A&M's 2 losses this year have been at neutral sites. So the Vegas game and the game at Toyota Center in Houston.
Yes, indeed. And so they're also undefeated at home and in true road games.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty impressive what Buzz Williams and company are putting together. The women's side, Gary Blair and company snapped a 4-game losing skid Sunday afternoon, dominating Auburn 71-53. Sydney Roby, 20 points, 8 rebounds. Kayla Wells contributed 15, while Jordan Nixon reached double figures with 10. A 25-6 outscore. They outscored the Tigers 25-6 in the second quarter, commanding lead and going into halftime, and they really never looked back. The Aggies will be back at Reed Arena on Thursday night. They'll host Ole Miss, a 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time tip. It'll be streaming on the SEC Network Plus, so you won't be able to catch that one on cable. Track and field team was back in Aggieland this weekend running in the Ted Nelson Invitational. Lamar Distance set a meet record in the women's high jump with a personal best 6'2", 1.88 meter jump. Second best mark in program history. On the men's side, Jake Lamberth also winning the men's high jump with a personal best there. How about this in the men's 800, Brandon Miller with a time of 1:47.48, the third fastest American under 20 time of all time, behind fellow Aggies Donovan Brazier and Carlton Orr.
That's right.
He's impressive. Had a number of people winning their events. Deborah Aqua in the long jump, Lila Owens in the women's 200, Sierra Richardson in the women's 400, Deshae Wise. You also had both the men's and the women's relay teams. And A-Thing Mo won the women's mile, setting a meet record with a time of 4:37.99. They'll be back in action this weekend.
Insane.
She is insane. And that's not even her race, man. That is double her what her best race is, the 800, a mile is 1600. That's just incredible. They'll be back in action this weekend running in the Texas Aggie Invitational. Women's tennis defeating McNeese 7-0 and then defeating Tarleton 7-0 yesterday. They're 2-0. And then the men also in action this weekend in the Sherwood Intercollegiate in Thousand Oaks, California.
We don't have a margin for it to be anything other than that would be probably the easiest answer. I think our guys have a better understanding of what we're trying to accomplish on both ends of the floor. Our discipline and execution of those things need to become more consistent as the weeks of SEC play unfold. But for 2 weeks, the experiences and the lessons that we've been able to learn while also winning have been good, and we're thankful for it. But I think the team understands what we're trying to do, and they appreciate and value the importance of preparation and the practices that lead to the game, and how through consistent reps of practice, they can see some of that translating to the game.
Coach, the resiliency of this team is something that stands out when you look at the totality so far of SEC play. Is that something you guys can coach, or is that just a testament to the kids that make up this roster?
Yeah, I like I always tell them, I think that speaks to their character. And while giving them credit for who they are, I think it also speaks to who raised them. I think that when you look at the things that have transpired, even if you're just talking about the 4 conference games, any of them, you could almost pick any of them. I do think that resilience would be a part of the adjective of the evaluation of our team thus far. And I think that speaks to their character and who they are. And I think to give credit to who raised them and who spent time teaching them and pouring into them the attributes that contribute to resilience. I think that has been evident whether we were winning or losing. I think you've been able to see the resilience from each of those guys.
All right, thank you so much for watching this TexAgs Rewind presented by T-Mobile. I want you to like, comment, subscribe, rate, review, share, tell your friends, tell your uncle, and that other uncle, the one that you don't talk to anymore. Just send him a random message. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time.